There are stories that change your mind, and there are stories that change your breath. This one will change the way you walk through the world. Tonight on The Modern Mystic, we enter the quiet brilliance of Paramahansa Yogananda, a yogi's night journey, not as a figure in history, but as a mirror to something ancient within you. Somewhere between the hush of midnight and the first stretch of dawn, you step into a dream that feels half-remembered. A softness stirs in you. Maybe it's hope, maybe it's longing. Or a question you've carried since you were small: is there more to life than all these boundaries, all these names? Have you ever felt like the world was heavy, but the silence inside you was deeper still? Like you were born searching for a sound you can't quite name? That secret ache to belong, not only to a place, but to the entire sky at night. That's exactly what Paramahansa Yogananda, a yogi's night journey, once felt too. Before he became a legend, he was just another soul with restless questions. Maybe there was a time when you watched the shadows in your room and wondered if the invisible could become family. Maybe you wished someone could tell you why the softest moments bring up the biggest feelings. Tonight, let's not solve the puzzle. Let's just walk slowly through the story together. Let your breath fall into rhythm, easy, gentle. Let every exhale make room for something ancient within you to unfurl. We aren't here to cheer you up or teach you lessons. We're here to honor the night journey, the way all true mystics find the soul in the dark and carry that candle into waking life. Tonight, Yogananda arrives not as a saint with all the answers, but as a companion for anyone who wanders and wonders. He sits with you in your unspoken places. He asks not who were you taught to be, but who feels all this inside. There's a heartbeat in stillness. You can hear it now, soft, steady. So let's begin, not by reaching for perfect, but by welcoming whatever rises. Settle in. Maybe close your eyes, or just let your mind drift like a boat on a gentle river. Tonight is not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering the softness you've always carried and trusting the journey of what unfolds. You've already arrived. Before the story begins, just listen to the quiet inside you and know you are not alone here. Now imagine the start as a gentle inhale, the beginning of your own night journey. Welcome to the modern mystic. This is Paramahansa Yogananda's story, and yours too, if you listen closely enough. There are stories that change your mind, and there are stories that change your breath. This one will change the way you walk through the world. Tonight on The Modern Mystic, the world gets a little quieter, and so do you. Every inhale becomes a little longer, and every exhale reaches a little deeper, because tonight we move into the soft brilliance of Paramahansa Yogananda, a yogi's night journey, not as if he's far away, not as if he's written in someone else's history book, but as if he is a silent kin, a mirror for something ancient. Right here inside you. Have you ever felt the ordinary hush of midnight wrap around you like some secret invitation? Maybe there was a time when you wondered why your heart ached for something bigger, something you could never quite name but deeply needed. A moment when you longed to find the kind of peace that doesn't blink out when the world closes its eyes. That's exactly what Paramahansa Yogananda, a yogi's night journey, once felt too. You see, this isn't the story of a great man, it's the slow memory of the sacred ache we all share. the longing for the light beyond our daily lives. So let's begin with stillness. Let's picture a young spirit in the hush of pre-dawn India, listening to the wind, that invisible music curling between old temples and dusty paths. Not much different than if you are listening to the hum of your own house right now. In every age, someone finds themselves awake when the world sleeps, longing with their whole heart for what can't be touched, only felt. Yogananda's journey began as a search for that quiet fire, the kind you sometimes taste in moments you might not remember, or maybe the ones you can never forget. Maybe, like him, you've had nights when your questions drowned out the comfort of sleep, times when you stood at the window and wondered why your soul won't stop reaching. He knew this ache too. And for him, it became a lantern carried breath by breath through the years. You don't need to know all the details, names, places, dates, because his real story is told in other language. The steady pulse of hope, the comfort inside confusion, the way longing can lead you home. Tonight, as you let your breath settle into the kind of rhythm a lullaby might envy, we will wander through the landscapes of his longing, his searching, his sweetness and setbacks. But always as a mirror, not a blueprint, not a rule book, just the gentle shape of a soul remembering itself again and again. There may be moments in this story where you feel a tug, a memory of your own midnight searching, or a flicker of peace you carried as a child. Let them move through you, let the pauses be as sacred as the words, because, friend, you and Yogananda, you are both here. The story is more yours than you remembered. Let's begin softly, let's listen with hope and with sleep drawing near. There are stories that change your mind, and there are stories that change your breath. This one will change the way you walk through the world. Tonight on The Modern Mystic, we enter the quiet brilliance of Paramahansa Yogananda, a yogi's night journey, not as a figure in history, but as a mirror to something ancient within you. Some evenings, a question lingers just beneath the surface of ordinary silence. Have you ever felt like the world around you was moving too fast for your soul to keep up? Or that your heart knew a secret language your voice wasn't ready to speak? Maybe there was a time when you wandered out under the open sky, aching for something more, something wider than words, a moment when you longed to remember why you are here. That's exactly what Paramahansa Yogananda, a yogi's night journey, once felt too. So tonight, let your eyes grow heavy, let your body sink into the cradle of darkness, as I whisper to you a story that is not really a story at all, but a night journey, yours and his, woven together under a canopy of possibility. Imagine a soul, small, curious, utterly alive, opening its inner hands to a mystery that never runs out. Not trapped in any single culture or calendar, but kindled by an ancient, wordless hunger. Have you ever felt that hunger? That secret wanting, that brightness under your ribs when the world falls quiet? Maybe you felt it as a child, watching rain drift down a window, listening to the hush between footsteps in an empty house. Or maybe it's a longing you carry even now, humming just beneath your everyday. Yogananda was born in such a hum, an atmosphere not just of prayers and rituals, but of waiting for something deeper. As if the world sensed his arrival and paused just a moment longer, so he could enter whole, curious, and awake. But he didn't come with answers, only longing and the willingness to walk barefoot across the night, looking for what shimmers in the invisible. And so, tonight, you are being invited not to know more, but to feel more. Not to collect facts, but to let go of weight. Because when a soul like Yogananda's steps into the dark, something in us wakes up too. There is a soft guidance that stirs, a gentle call to remember that maybe you too are a wanderer, a night traveler, that maybe this very hour is quietly sacred, and that in the story of one yogi's quest, you might just find your own reflection. Let yourself listen as breath slows and a quiet wonder starts to build like the softest dawn rising in the dark. Oh, there are stories that change your mind, and there are stories that change your breath. This one will change the way you walk through the world. Tonight on The Modern Mystic, we enter the quiet brilliance of Paramahansa Yogananda, a yogi's night journey, not as a figure in history, but as a mirror to something ancient within you. Have you ever felt that quiet ache beneath the surface, a longing that hummed at the edge of words? Maybe you noticed it most at night when the world is still. Maybe when something in you whispers, there must be more than this moment, more than the tasks, the endless reaching, the soft ache behind your ribs. There are moments when you find yourself staring into the shadows, heart gentle, mind open, wondering. Maybe there was a time when you wandered outside long after everyone else was sleeping, looking up at the sky, feeling tiny and infinite all at once. Maybe there was a moment when you pressed your palm against the window and watched your breath cloud the glass, wondering who you truly were beneath the names, beneath the roles. Tonight, in this sanctuary of sound, let's walk slowly, not to chase answers, but to remember. Not to conquer sleep, but to rest inside a greater question. What if everything you're searching for is already whispering in the space between your breaths? That longing you feel, Yogananda felt it too. He was a seeker, yes, but more than that, he was a listener. The kind who paused for secrets tucked inside silence, who knew the night as kin and every leaf as a teacher. Imagine the hush of the world centuries ago, before city lights chased the darkness from our windows, back when silence was alive, and the soul of a boy could stretch out to meet it. Yogananda's journey began the same way your longing begins, with an ache, with questions that dance in the dark, not a story of miracles or grand declarations, no. This is a night journey, one step, one breath at a time, with soft edges, with doubts and wonder and the slow, glowing certainty that something sacred waits for you in the quiet moments, in the places nobody else can see. Let your eyelids grow heavy, let your breath slow, like a tide returning to the shore. You don't need to try, here you are already enough. Here you belong. Whatever you carry, hopes or heaviness, set them gently beside you now. Yogananda's path was both ordinary and luminous, a son, a dreamer, a friend, a wanderer, a teacher loved and misunderstood. Let it wash over you. His story is not just a life retold, but a lantern held out for you to glimpse your own depth, your own midnight garden. The place where soul and world meet. Tonight we'll wander through the early hungers of his childhood, the sparks and the struggles, the moments of losing and finding himself, the sacred turning points, the devotion, the quiet mastery, the laws he lived by without ever naming them. And before dawn comes, we'll sit in gentle conversation with his essence until a soft mantra carries you safely into sleep. You're here, I'm grateful. The night is long but not lonely. Lie back or close your eyes if it feels good. Let the hum of the modern mystic be your hearth, your companion as we slip beneath the surface together, following the footprints of a yogi who walked toward the light, one quiet breath at a time. Let's begin. There are stories that change your mind, and there are stories that change your breath. This one will change the way you walk through the world. Tonight on The Modern Mystic, we enter the quiet brilliance of Paramahansa Yogananda, a yogi's night journey, not as a figure in history, but as a mirror to something ancient within you. Maybe you've found yourself awake while the world sleeps, breathing deeper, just to feel the night swirl around you, or you've traced an ache inside you, the kind that's more like longing than pain. Have you ever stood on the edge of your own silence and wondered if there's more? Maybe there was a time you felt the world's shapes and colors were familiar, but there was another, quieter world under everything, a hidden layer that asked bigger questions. Who am I? Why am I here? What breathes me when the day is done? That's exactly what Paramahansa Yogananda's night journey was made of. This isn't a story of a sage shining from a gilded mountaintop, but of a boy and then a man, whose human heart bled soft and bright between the lines of his own longing. He didn't come out of legend, but from a family with hands that sometimes trembled and eyes that spilled softness when the world grew too sharp. If you close your eyes right now and listen past my words, past the hum of the night around you, you might sense the same current running under your skin, the steady hum of the one who searches. The yogi's night journey isn't just his. It's the dream all of us share. The hunger for something wider, the thirst for a beauty so alive we can't name it, restlessness, but also a strange peace like water at the bottom of a long well. Let yourself rest into this story, let it slow your breathing. Give your mind permission to wander through the hidden corridors of your own spirit. This isn't about learning more or doing better or adding anything heavy to your life. Tonight is a door you walk through with bare feet and open hands. Maybe you hear echoes in this, a wanting that is kind, a sadness that is tender, a question that is holy just as it is. Maybe you don't know what your soul is searching for, not yet. Maybe, like Yogananda, what matters most is simply to listen for it. So, wherever you are lying back, cocooned by the weight of blankets and the hush of the hour, let me lead you inside, slow and gentle, into the deep, breathing heart of a boy who became a mystic, not by escaping the world, but by loving it and daring to go silent inside of it. This is not history. It's not a sermon, it's not a lesson you must remember. Tonight is an invitation to a pilgrimage of soul across the hush of the night. You belong here. You're not listening by accident. There is nothing for you to prove, nothing you must strive for or fix right now. Just settle in. Each inhale opens a window. Each exhale is a gentle release. Tonight, as your breath slows, know this: the story is you. It always was. There are stories that change your mind, and there are stories that change your breath. This one will change the way you walk through the world. Tonight on The Modern Mystic, we enter the quiet brilliance of Paramahansa Yogananda, a yogi's night journey, not as a figure in history, but as a mirror to something ancient within you. Have you ever felt that soft ache for a different kind of presence? Maybe there was a night Years back, when you couldn't find rest because somewhere inside a gentle whisper told you, there's more, a moment when you longed for peace the world couldn't offer. When the stars outside your window seemed to listen, and you felt for just a flicker a mysterious kinship with the night itself. That's exactly what Paramahansa Yogananda, a yogi with laughter in his eyes and a map of mystery behind his smile, once felt too. He wasn't just a sage in robes or a name in a dusty book. He was the stirring in the chest before dawn, the hand reaching across lifetimes for meaning. Most know him as the gentle wanderer who brought yoga to the West. But before there were teachings and temples, there was a boy searching for something beyond simple answers, and a deep hush pressed between his heartbeats. So tonight, let's not remember him as a saint on a pedestal, but as a fellow traveler in the dark. Maybe you too have watched your thoughts cloud and clear, just hoping for one real moment of aliveness. Maybe you too have walked the corridors of longing. Here, in the hush of night, we slip into his story, not to learn about him, but to remember a deeper honesty inside ourselves. The words we'll share there as much yours as his. Every pause a doorway, every image an invitation home. We begin with the hush before everything, a breath drawn somewhere between silence and hope, a wish as old as longing itself. This is not just a story. It's a walk side by side through the shadow and silver of what it truly means to become, to follow the path your soul lays quiet before you, to listen and to remember. So settle in. Let the edges of your day fade. If you can, close your eyes softly. Let the night wrap around you like a gentle shawl, and together we'll step into the first hush, the remembered ache of a child who wondered about the stars, the beginning of a yogi's night journey. He was born into a world noisy with dreams not his own. A child whose heart wandered farther than his feet, who listened, as you do now, for that secret note within the silence. Let the night deepen, let your breath soften. The journey has only just begun. There are stories that change your mind, and there are stories that change your breath. This one will change the way you walk through the world. Tonight on The Modern Mystic, we enter the quiet brilliance of Paramahansa Yogananda, a yogi's night journey, not as a figure in history, but as a mirror to something ancient within you. Have you ever felt the hush that comes just before midnight? The kind of silence that isn't empty but full, like the whole universe is waiting with you. Maybe there was a time when you looked at the stars and wondered if there was more, some gentle current underneath all the noise, some river flowing quietly through your chest where only you could hear. A moment you longed for something you didn't know how to name, like a memory half remembered, or a wish still hiding inside a sigh. That's exactly what Paramahansa Yogananda, a yogi's night journey, once felt. Too, his story isn't about grand achievements. It's about meeting the silence within, learning to feel, not just think, learning to rest, not just dream. So as you pull the covers close, let yourself drift beside him a little tonight, not chasing answers, just holding space for gentle questions, maybe a few you've carried quietly for years. Before he was a teacher, or a sage, or a name in a book, Yogananda was just a boy in a quiet corner of India, the air warm, the world full of whispers. He wasn't born powerful. He was born curious. Sometimes, late at night, he would stare into the dark and listen. listening for something he couldn't touch but felt deep in his bones, a kind of homesickness, even though he was surrounded by his family. A feeling that he was wrapped in the arms of something invisible, a gentle presence, loving, impossible to see. Have you ever felt that? Like you belonged, but also you were a little lost, searching for a door inside yourself that only opens at night? Yogananda's childhood wasn't marked by noise. It was marked by longing. He would watch the world move, streets alive with color, music rising through open windows, laughter leaking from the edges of old houses. But his heart stayed very still, buried under layers of hope and a quiet ache for something beyond the ordinary. Even in the noise, he listened for the quiet. Even when everyone else was busy, he would wander to the edge of the garden, letting the grass grow cool around his toes, wondering if somewhere there was a secret that waited just for him. The people in his world didn't always understand this kind of longing. They wanted him to fit in, to do what everyone else did, to be safe, nestled, predictable, but inside he felt a pull, a quiet magnetism, like breath coming from somewhere deeper than lungs. There were nights he would lie awake feeling the pulse of his own heart and wondering if the world was alive the same way he was. That quiet shimmer, a little like a secret. You know those nights when you're wide awake, but everything around you is sleeping. That's where our story begins, at that soft, invisible doorway between waking and dreaming, where longing isn't a weakness but a compass, where silence isn't the absence of sound but the beginning of a sacred conversation. So take a slow breath. Let your mind loosen its grip just for now. This is your night journey too. He's not so different from you. He was just a soul looking for the way home. In the hush that lives between stories, we'll drift further into the mystery that held him, and maybe, just for tonight, holds you too. Once upon a quiet dawn, there was a boy and a longing as old as the stars, and maybe, as we settle in, you'll hear echoes of yourself, soft as moonlight, gentle as the breath between one thought and the next. Let's walk slowly now, together, deeper into the story. There are stories that change your mind, and there are stories that change your breath. This one will change the way you walk through the world. Tonight on The Modern Mystic, we enter the quiet brilliance of Paramahansa Yogananda, a yogi's night journey, not as a figure in history, but as a mirror to something ancient within you. Have you ever felt a longing that lived deep beneath the surface of your days? A sense that life was whispering some secret to you somewhere between breaths. Maybe there was a time when you caught yourself staring out the window, letting your mind wander past the edges of your own story. Maybe you found yourself sitting still, aching for a glimpse of something holy that might change everything, or perhaps, just once, the world went silent and you listened to the space between heartbeats, to the hush that lingers after the sun sets. That's exactly what Paramahansa Yogananda, a yogi's night journey, once felt too. Not just seeking answers, but being drawn by a magnetism you can't explain, a gravity that pulls you beyond what's easy or known. Close your eyes if you wish, or simply listen. Let your breath fall slow and welcome, because this story isn't just about a boy born in India, or a wandering seeker, or even a spiritual teacher people called master. This story is about the call you feel in darkness, the voice you almost hear when you surrender. Yogananda's journey isn't just a path through years or across continents. It is a night journey, a quiet walk inwards, and what he found might be waiting for you too. Sometimes late at night, when the house is still, you remember being a child, asking the sky your secret questions, wondering why the world sometimes felt too far away or too close. Yogananda was once that child, tracing invisible lines in the air, letting his thoughts become prayers. He felt both the ache and the beauty, the homesickness for the divine and the hope that maybe, just maybe, the world could answer back. Tonight, as you settle in, I'll hold that longing with you. As we drift through his journey, the boundary between your story and his gently dissolves, a gentle invitation. As you listen, let your breath ride the rhythm of his hopes, his struggles, his silent knowing. You've made it this far, through so many winding roads and midnight questions. What if right now this story is the answer you need most? It's not about believing or achieving or even understanding. It's about letting yourself be changed quietly from within. It's about walking softer, loving more deeply, resting in a mystery that's always been yours. So take another breath. Let the day release its hold. We begin where all soul journeys begin, with longing. The boy who would become Yogananda in those faraway evenings had a spirit knitted together with starlight and the sound of distant temple bells. But before the visions, before the teachings, there was just longing. He'd sit near his mother, under the golden glow of oil lamps. The world felt both safe and electric. The air was thick with incense and something unspoken. Some nights he would close his eyes, feeling bigger than his small body, as if a secret door was opening in his chest. His family, gentle and loving, held ancient stories close. Yet within him grew a hunger words couldn't fill, a desire not for things or praise, but for a taste of the sacred, a memory he couldn't quite name. When you think back, was there ever such a hunger in you? Something you couldn't explain but never wanted to lose? That's where he began, and quietly where you begin tonight too. He asked silent questions as fireflies flickered. Is there more than what I see? Am I alone in this longing? What would it mean to truly wake up, to see the world lit from the inside out? In the hush of his early days, Yogananda walked in two worlds. There was the world of family and friends, of simple joys and toys and laughter, and then there was the world behind his eyelids, the one that shimmered with possibility, a world where every breath felt sacred and purposeful, and with each sunrise the longing grew. This is where his story becomes yours, not because of miracles or mystery, but because he learned to listen to the pull within. So as you lie here, letting the night hold you, maybe notice your own quiet longing, the sacred ache beneath the noise. Every story begins with longing. Every step towards the light starts in the honest dark. Let's walk with him now, step by gentle step, deeper into that early hunger, the one that makes us all children again, searching for the first door in the night. It was in this living silence that the spark began to glow. There are stories that change your mind, and there are stories that change your breath. This one will change the way you walk through the world. Tonight on The Modern Mystic, we enter the quiet brilliance of Paramahansa Yogananda, a yogi's night journey, not as a figure in history, but as a mirror to something ancient within you. Maybe your body is heavy tonight. Maybe something soft gathers at the edge of your heart. Maybe in this moment you're searching for more than answers. You're here, listening, because you know there's a deeper way to belong, a way to move through your days in the world, but also touch the quiet river beneath it all. Have you ever felt the quiet space between moments? Maybe there was a time when you caught your own reflection and forgot your name for a second, feeling a flicker of something bigger watching through your eyes, a moment when you longed for home, but knew it wasn't a place on any map. It was a feeling, a song, a pulse under your ribs. Maybe you have words for it, maybe you just have ache. That's exactly what Paramahansa Yogananda felt too. Before he was called by the world for what he would teach, he was called inward into the soft, wordless place where longing lives. So tonight, don't listen for information. Let the story live around you. Let every breath stretch into the hush. There is a boy, not yet a sage, growing up beneath the sprawl of Indian skies. There are mornings when he stands near the window, watching the light change. Nights when he lies awake, feeling an invitation he can't name, not for status, not for escape, but for a reunion his heart remembers, even when his mind can't. He aches for more than routine, more than comfort, more than what others tell him is possible. At times he's restless, at times full of wonder. Sometimes he closes his eyes, pretending the world is only vibration and color. Some part of him knows there are mysteries pressed into every shadow, prayers hidden beneath the noise, secrets that don't want to be solved, just listened to. Maybe you know this ache too. Maybe you've stood in silence, hoping the silence would answer back, you belong here. Let's walk with Paramahansa on this slow night journey, through memory, through heart, through the hush of everything you always hoped was true about yourself, but maybe didn't have words for. Rest easy, you don't have to be anything for this story. Just breathe, sink, and let his journey become a mirror for your own longing. His childhood was shaped by shadows and light, moments of laughing with siblings, moments of stillness stolen in the corner of a busy home, the scent of incense, the sound of chants in the distance, soft feet touching cool earth, a whisper on the wind, something calling him back again and again to the deep center behind his heartbeat. It was not always simple, not always easy. But even when he felt out of place in the presence of his own searching, he was never truly alone. There are memories in all of us like this, the early ache, the first flicker of hunger for something deeper. Close your eyes if you wish, let the night move slow, lean into the journey ahead. The boy, the longing, the quiet invitation to become more than a life expected, to become a life remembered. We begin. There are stories that change your mind, and there are stories that change your breath. This one will change the way you walk through the world. Tonight on The Modern Mystic, we enter the quiet brilliance of Paramahansa Yogananda, a yogi's night journey, not as a figure in history, but as a mirror to something ancient within you. Have you ever felt the ache for something larger? A longing hidden between heartbeats? Maybe there was a time when the world outside felt a little louder, harsher, and you wondered if gentle truths still had a place here, a moment when you longed for a hand on your shoulder, for a whisper that told you you are part of something gentle and wise, even if you can't see it on the surface. That's exactly what Paramahansa Yogananda, a yogi's night journey, once felt too. Settle in tonight. Because this isn't just anyone's story, It is the story of searching for the inner sun. It's about being both a child and an elder in your spirit at once. Open your window to the softest breath of night air. Let yourself sink into the hush. Let the noise of the world fall behind you, all those voices. All those demands, set them down, just for now, because you're about to walk with someone who once knelt before the dark, uncertain night and reached for something brighter. He didn't know which way the stars would guide him. He only knew longing for truth, for beauty, for something unbreakable at the center. And maybe you've known that too. Let the story unfold slowly, like a river turning in the moonlight. Breathe in, and as you exhale, feel yourself step into another world, one where Paramahansa is not a saint above you, but a traveler alongside. And so we begin. He was born where colors are so bright you sometimes squint against their kindness, where the air holds prayers, not just on people's lips but in the very dust beneath their feet. Before he was a yogi, before he was anyone's teacher, he was just a boy with questions so big he sometimes felt his bones quiver for an answer. You know that quiet moment where you sit at the edge of your bed, staring at the ceiling, not asking out loud, but somehow hoping the universe hears you. He sat at that edge too. He grew up in the folds of India, lands that sing with memory, lands that echo with the feet of generations pressing for deeper peace. But even in a place thick with worship, there's an ache, an old ache that comes when your soul remembers a home it can't name. Paramahansa's childhood was a patchwork of gentle mornings. The breeze moved through open windows, carrying the scent of earth, of rain, and the faintest memory of incense, as if spirit itself wandered through the house whenever the grown-ups weren't watching. There were sisters who giggled, brothers who played hard, parents whose hopes were stitched in silence. His father's eyes were kind, sometimes weary, as if he knew the way of the world. His mother, her hands warm, always seemed to hold a softness the world hadn't yet learned to value. In the quietest hours, Paramahansa lay in the dark, the way you might now, feeling half-sized against the night. He wondered, is there something out there that can meet what's inside me? Are the stories real, of saints, of light, of seeing beyond what eyes can see? Sometimes it hurt, that wanting. It was a hunger wider than hunger itself, not just for answers, but for closeness, for union with whatever made the wind move, the breath steady, the heart know love. He would close his eyes and imagine, not a god on a throne, not a temple glowing, but a presence so loving it made him feel less alone. If you've ever wanted to belong to something deeper, to know you mattered beyond your roles, beyond your name, know that he stood right where you are, looking into the night, waiting quietly for the next gentle sign. And sometimes answers, however small, come only when you're perfectly still. So breathe and imagine that hush, thick with both longing and hope, because that's where every journey, even one as luminous as Yogananda's, quietly begins. He wandered through youth wrapped in a kind of gentle confusion, loved, yes, but restless. Even laughter didn't settle the ache. There were moments when words fell flat, when all the loving lessons from elders sank into a pool of not quite knowing. He would watch the monks pass, saffron-robed and silent, and sense there was a pace to their step that hummed with secret joy. He wanted to know what called them, what held them up inside. Maybe you've felt that 2. When another's peace makes your own heart ache a little, not from jealousy, but from recognition. Sometimes he ran down dusty paths, feet kicking up warm brown clouds. Sometimes he sat, silent, beside a window, hands folded in his lap, eyes searching the weave of night and day for a kind of truth no one seemed able to teach outright. If you close your eyes, you might see this boy, his face half lit by dusk, his mind tracing the path of a bird in flight, his spirit wild not for adventure but for union. He kept waiting for a moment, a sign, a shimmering glimpse when the world would tell him, "You're not lost."